The clock on my nightstand blinked 1:17 a.m. when my phone rattled against the wood, dragging me from a shallow, restless sleep. I fumbled for it, squinting at the screen through bleary eyes. A text from Mom. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about the trip. We're pushing it to next year." I bolted upright, the words hitting like a slap. "Postponed?" My heart thudded hard, a dull ache spreading through my chest. This wasn't some half-baked weekend plan. It was the family vacation, the one we'd been stitching together for 6 grueling months, the first real one since I was 9, and still believed we were a unit. I'd poured everything into it, traded shifts at the cafe until my knees buckled, hoarded every crumpled dollar in a mason jar scratched with Trip Fund in black Sharpie, and marked the calendar with red X's, each one a heartbeat closer to escape. I dialed her, fingers trembling, breath shallow. She picked up on the 3rd ring, her voice heavy, frayed at the edges. "Alyssa, I know you're upset, but money's tight right now. We just can't swing it." I gripped the phone, nails biting into my palm, the plastic creaking. Tight? I knew tight. I'd been living on instant noodles and tap water to pitch in, even offered to cover my own flight out of my measly savings. But her tone was a locked door, cold, final, like my voice was just static she could tune out. "If it's about money," I said, forcing calm through clenched teeth, "we could book a cheaper place. Cut it short. I'll make it work, Mom." A pause stretched, deliberate and heavy, the silence louder than her words. "Alyssa," she murmured, softer now, almost pitying, "it's not the right time. Next year, I swear we'll go." The promise hung there, thin as a thread, and I felt it snap even as I muttered a weak, "Okay," and ended the call. I sank back into the lumpy mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling of my tiny apartment, a sick churn in my gut whispering, I should have known better than to trust her. If you love stories of resilience, reclaiming justice with style, and rediscovering your worth, hit that subscribe button for Graceful Revenge now. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's dive into the power of elegant revenge and life's deepest lessons together. The next day dragged, a gray smear of routine, wiping tables, pouring coffee, dodging the manager's glares when I zoned out. My hands moved on autopilot, but my mind churned, replaying her words. Not the right time. I'd heard that excuse before, when I'd begged for a bike at 10 and got a maybe later, when I'd asked for college help and got a shrug. Always later, always never. By the second night, doubt had festered into a quiet dread, but I shoved it down, clinging to the hope that they'd meant it, that next year wasn't just another dodge. I was mid-shift at the cafe, scrubbing a sticky counter during a rare lull, when my phone buzzed in my apron pocket. A video from Jake's number. Probably some dumb prank, I figured, a distraction from his latest ego trip. I slipped an earbud in, hit play, and the world tilted. The screen flared to life. Mom, Dad, Jake, his girlfriend Sarah, sprawled on a sun-bleached beach, sand glittering like glass under a relentless sun. Waves crashed in the distance as Dad raised a beer, his voice thick and slurred. "Thank God Alyssa's not here. She'd suck the life right out of this." Mom's laugh sliced through, high and cruel. "Oh, absolutely. No nagging, no whining, just peace for once." Jake swung the camera, his smirk wide and lazy. "Best call we ever made. Keeps the vibe perfect." Sarah leaned in, her voice a needle. "Yeah, she's way too intense. Would have ruined everything." The clip jolted. Jake's face flashed, eyes wide with panic, before it cut to black. Seconds later, a text pinged. "Fuck, wrong chat. Delete that now." My hand shook so violently, the phone slipped, clattering onto the counter. A tray of mugs I'd been stacking teetered and crashed, glass exploding across the tiles in a deafening shatter. The cook, Miguel, yelled from the kitchen, "Yo, Alyssa, you good?" But I couldn't answer. My ears rang with their words, a vicious loop. Thank God she's not here. They didn't just go. They were celebrating my absence. I stumbled to the break room, legs rubbery, and collapsed onto a folding chair, the metal cold against my thighs. My hands trembled as I opened Facebook, dread pooling in my stomach. There it was, a flood of photos, each one a fresh wound. Mom and Dad clinking frosty cocktails, Jake and Sarah posing on a sleek boat slicing through turquoise waves, the four of them grinning over a mountain of lobster tails at some ritzy seaside joint, the kind I'd never even stepped foot in. The caption glared back, bold and mocking, "Family time is priceless." Priceless, while I'd been scrubbing grease stains, choking down their lie about money's tight. I scrolled, each image a hammer blow, snorkeling masks dangling from their necks, a bonfire spitting sparks on the beach, a sunset selfie with their smug, tanned faces framed against a pink sky. My chest tightened, breath hitching in shallow gasps, my vision blurring with hot, stinging tears I refused to let fall. I locked the phone and pressed it to my forehead, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like a swarm of angry wasps. Maybe it was a fluke, a last-minute deal, a gift from some rich friend. But that video, Dad's drunken sneer, Mom's gleeful cackle, Jake's smug best call, Sarah's casual jab, torched those flimsy excuses. They hadn't postponed a damn thing. They'd cut me out, locked the door, and toasted to it like I was a burden they'd finally shed. I didn't call that night, didn't text. I dragged myself home after my shift, the 5-block walk, a blur of flickering streetlights and cold wind clawing at my face. My apartment was a crypt, dark, silent, the air stale with neglect. The mason jar sat on the counter, trip fund glaring in faded ink, half full of crumpled bills and loose change. $800 I'd bled for, scraping by on tips and skipped meals. I sank to the floor, back against the fridge, and replayed that video on loop until my head pounded. Dad's voice thick with relief. She'd suck the life out of this. Mom's cackle. No whining, just peace. Sarah's jab. Too intense. Jake's smug. Best call. Each word was a chisel, carving deeper into a wound I hadn't known was there. My mind spiraled back. Birthdays they'd forgotten, with a rushed card days late. Christmases where Jake unwrapped PlayStations, and I got a thrift store scarf still smelling of mothballs. Thanksgivings where I'd cooked all day, only for them to rave about Jake's store-bought pie. I'd stretched myself thin for them, worked doubles to help with rent when Dad got laid off, skipped prom to babysit Jake when Mom needed a break, handed over my savings when they swore it was for emergencies. And this was my reward, a knife in the back, twisted with a laugh. They thought I'd stay quiet, choke down the hurt like always, play the good little ghost in their perfect family picture. They didn't know me at all. The week crawled by, a slow bleed of sleepless nights and hollow days. I kept the video, watched it obsessively, 5 seconds of raw truth that shredded every excuse they'd ever fed me. I'd pause on their faces, Dad's bleary grin, Mom's mocking glee, Jake's lazy smirk, searching for a crack, a hint of guilt. Nothing, just smug relief. I barely ate, coffee burned my empty stomach, toast went stale on the counter. At work, I was a shadow, spilling orders, snapping at Miguel when he asked what was wrong. "You look like hell," he said one night, tossing me a rag. "Family shit," I muttered, and he left it alone. I'd catch myself staring at that jar, the money I'd saved for them, and rage would simmer, bubbling under my skin. When they returned, I was ready, coiled tight, a trap waiting to spring. The taxi's engine growled outside my window at dusk. I peered through the blinds. Mom, Dad, Jake, hauling bloated suitcases, faces flushed with that smug, sun-soaked glow. My pulse hammered, a war drum in my ears, as I gripped a chipped mug, knuckles white, coffee sloshing over the rim. The door creaked open, and Mom's voice slithered in, too bright, too fake. "Alyssa!" "Oh, honey, I missed you so much. How have you been holding up?" I stood rigid, arms locked across my chest, staring her down like a predator sizing up prey. "Fine," I spat, the word a shard of ice. Dad trudged in, dropping his bag with a heavy thud. "Work keeping you busy, kiddo?" I barked a laugh, sharp, unhinged, echoing off the peeling walls. Work was my cage while they danced on beaches with my blood money. Jake sauntered in, stretching with a yawn, his smirk a king's. "Travel's brutal, wipes you out." He flicked his eyes to me. "Hope you didn't screw anything up while we were gone." "Gone?" I stepped forward, voice a low, venomous growl. His smirk twitched, uncertain, a crack in his armor. I didn't ease in. I detonated. "How was the trip?" The question was a blade, cold and honed. Mom's smile wobbled, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "Oh, just a quick getaway. Nothing special." Bullshit. I ripped my phone from my pocket, cranked the video's volume to a roar, and let it loose. Dad's voice filled the room, slurring and smug. "Thank God Alyssa's not here." Mom's laugh followed, high and cruel. Jake's drawl, "Best call we ever made." Sarah's jab, too intense. Their faces drained, pale, frozen, like deer caught in a rifle's scope. I swiped to the photos, beaches, boats, lobsters piled high, and thrust the screen at them, my hand shaking with fury. "Nothing special, huh?" Silence choked the air, thick and suffocating. Mom stammered, "Alyssa, it's not what—" "Shut up!" I roared, slamming the mug down. It shattered, coffee splattering the floor like dark blood. Dad tried, "Sweetheart, just—" "No!" I grabbed the family photo off the wall, the one from a decade ago, Mom's arm around me, a lie frozen in time, and hurled it with all my strength. Glass sprayed like shrapnel, the frame cracking in half, their smiling faces splitting apart. "You didn't postpone a damn thing. You dumped me and fucking laughed about it." Jake scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Jesus, Alyssa, calm down. It's not a conspiracy." "Not a conspiracy?" I spun on him, shoving him hard into the wall. He hit it with a grunt, his smirk vanishing. "I heard you. Best call we ever made. Because I'd ruined the vibe? You used my money!" Mom gasped. "How do you—" "The bank statement," I snarled, voice trembling with rage. "The emergency fund I gave you. $800 I starved for, gone. You spent it on this." Dad's jaw clenched, his eyes dropping, caught red-handed. "You could have told me I wasn't wanted," I hissed, "but you turned me into a punchline." Mom reached out, her hand trembling. "Honey, we didn't—" I slapped it away, voice cracking. "Don't touch me! This isn't just the trip, it's every damn time you've erased me." I kicked the broken frame, glass crunching under my shoe. "Every birthday you forgot. Oh, we'll make it up. Every holiday Jake got gold and I got garbage. It's what we could afford. Every time I broke myself for you and got nothing. Not a thank you, not a glance." Tears burned my cheeks, hot and unstoppable. I thought if I gave everything, my time, my money, my soul, you'd see me. But I'm a joke to you, aren't I? Silence swallowed the room, a guillotine poised to drop. Mom whispered, "We don't love Jake more." Then why do I feel like you hate me? I sobbed, my voice raw, breaking. No answer, just their guilty, averted stares, a confession in their stillness. I snatched my bag, shaking so hard the strap slipped twice before I yanked it over my shoulder. "Alyssa, wait!" Dad lunged, his hand grazing my arm. "Get off!" I screamed, shoving him back. He stumbled into the couch, toppling a lamp that crashed to the floor. Their voices clawed after me. "Please, let's talk." "Alyssa, don't!" I stormed to the door, their pleas a buzz I drowned out, and slammed it shut, the bang echoing like a gunshot down the empty hall. My phone erupted, calls, texts, but I blocked them all, fingers trembling as I erased their names one by one. Mom, Dad, Jake. Gone. I crashed at my friend Tara's place, a cramped one-bedroom across town, curling up on her lumpy couch under a threadbare blanket. That night, sleep was a ghost. My reflection in her cracked bathroom mirror showed a stranger, eyes sunken, face gaunt, hair a tangled mess. Their voices haunted me. No nagging, just peace. I saw that video in every blink, Dad's smirk, Mom's glee, Sarah's jab, Jake's smug drawl. My chest ached, a hollow pit where trust used to live. Days blurred into a fog. I called in sick to the cafe, my voice a rasp over the phone. "Flu or something." The manager grunted, "Get it together," but I didn't care. I stayed at Tara's, letting my own place rot. Dishes piling in the sink, trash overflowing, that damn jar taunting me from the counter. I barely ate. Coffee scalded my empty stomach. Toast went stale untouched. Tara tried, leaving plates of pasta by the couch, but I'd just stare at them, appetite dead. "You gotta eat, Lise," she'd say, her voice soft with worry. "I'm fine," I'd lie, and she'd sigh, retreating to her room. Sleep was a battlefield. Nightmares of their laughter jolted me awake, soaked in sweat, clawing at the air. A voice in my head grew louder, relentless. "You're alone because you're nothing. They're better off without you." It clawed at me, a parasite feeding on doubt, until I'd curl into a ball, rocking silently, fighting to breathe. But then I'd replay their betrayal, those smug, laughing faces, and fury surged, a lifeline yanking me back from the edge. Their messages hit Tara's phone after I unblocked mine for work, a barrage of guilt and control. "Mom, Alyssa, this is ridiculous. Come home now." Dad, "Answer your damn phone. We're worried." Jake, "You're unhinged. Chill the hell out." I didn't flinch. They weren't sorry, just pissed I'd dared to fight back. Then the tone shifted, a calculated pivot. "Mom, baby, we miss you so much. We're so sorry." Dad, "We fucked up bad. Please talk to us." Mom, "I can't sleep, can't eat. Don't do this to me." My chest tightened, fingers hovering over reply, a flicker of old habit urging me to fix it, to run back. But then I'd ask, would they care if I hadn't caught them? The answer was a brick to the face. No, they'd still be laughing, clinking glasses to my absence, basking in their peace. I smashed my phone against Tara's coffee table, the screen spiderwebbing, a jagged mirror of my insides. She found me later, staring at the wall, tears streaking my face. "You okay?" she asked, crouching beside me. I shook my head, voice a whisper. "I don't know who I am without them." She hugged me tight, her warmth a lifeline, but it didn't fill the void. They'd carved out too much. Weeks limped by at Tara's, a limbo of gray days and restless nights. I'd sit by her window, watching rain streak the glass, tracing patterns with my finger as memories clawed their way up. I remembered being 12, saving my allowance to buy Mom a necklace for Mother's Day. She'd worn it once, then lost it, while Jake's sloppy card got framed on the mantel. At 16, I'd stayed home from a school dance to help Dad fix his car. He'd patted my head, then spent the next day bragging about Jake's football game. At 19, I'd handed over my first paycheck to cover their electric bill. Mom had said, "Thanks, sweetie," then bought Jake new sneakers the next week. Each memory was a brick in a wall I'd never seen building, a fortress of neglect I'd lived inside, blind. Tara dragged me out one night, forcing me into a diner booth, shoving a burger in my hands. "Eat, or I'll spoon-feed you," she threatened, half serious. I took a bite, the grease heavy on my tongue, and she grinned. "See? World's not ending." But it felt like it had. My world, anyway. A month in, I broke. I couldn't stay a guest forever. I booked a flight, some nowhere coastal town in Oregon, a red-eye deal I scraped together with my last paycheck. I packed a duffel, jeans, a hoodie, a toothbrush, left no note, and bolted. The plane's hum drowned my thoughts. I landed at dawn, a gray sky stretching over a jagged shore, the air sharp with salt. I hiked to a cliff, waves thrashing below, their roar swallowing the silence in my head. I stood there, wind tearing at my hair, and screamed, raw, guttural, a sound ripped from my core, lost to the sea. My throat burned, salt stinging my eyes, and for the first time, I felt alive. Wounded, scarred, but free. I stayed 3 days, sleeping in a cheap motel with peeling wallpaper, wandering beaches littered with driftwood and broken shells. Each step was a shedding. Their voices faded, replaced by the ocean's relentless pulse. I'd sit on the sand, watching gulls wheel overhead, and let the cold seep into my bones, a baptism of solitude. When I got back, Tara met me at the door, arms crossed. "Your mom called. Sounded like she'd been crying for days." I shrugged, dropping my bag. "Good." I moved out a week later, found a studio across town, a shoebox with bare walls, a sagging mattress, and a single bulb dangling from the ceiling. It was mine, a blank slate, no echoes of them. But they tracked me down 2 months later, their control slipping, their desperation clawing back. The knock came mid-afternoon, a relentless pounding that shook the thin door. I knew it was them. They couldn't stand losing the reins. I opened it, face a mask, steel in my spine. Mom stood there, eyes bloodshot, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Dad loomed behind, hands trembling, reeking of whiskey and stale cigarettes. "Alyssa," Mom croaked, clutching a soggy tissue. "Can we come in?" I blocked the threshold, voice flat. "Why?" "To spin more lies?" Dad rasped. "We need to fix this. Please, kiddo." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that bounced off the walls. "Fix what? The part where you trashed me?" I stepped aside, daring them with a glare. Mom crumpled onto my lone chair, sobbing into her hands. Dad paced, muttering curses under his breath, his boots scuffing the warped floor. I stood, arms crossed, a wall of rage, my shadow long and dark against the peeling paint. "Truth!" "Now," I demanded, my voice a whip. Mom choked, her words tumbling out in a rush. "We lied! The trip was never off." "No shit," I sneered, leaning against the wall, my nails digging into my arms. "Why me?" Dad's voice cracked, rough as gravel. "We thought you'd ruin it. Too uptight, too clingy, too damn much." My stomach dropped, a free fall into ice. "Clingy," I whispered, the word a wound, then exploded. "I gave you my soul," Mom wailed. "We didn't mean it like—" "Then why say it?" I roared, kicking a box of books. It crashed, pages scattering like wounded birds. "Why steal my money to ditch me?" Dad flinched, his face crumpling. "We panicked. Thought you'd guilt us into staying, drag us down." I laughed, manic. tears streaming unchecked. Guilt you? I just wanted to belong, to be part of something. I grabbed a mug, Mom's old best mom gift, a cruel irony, and smashed it against the counter, ceramic dust exploding in a cloud. You mocked me, your own kid, Mom sobbed. We love you. Lies. I flung a chair. It splintered against the wall, wood cracking like bones. You don't destroy people you love. Dad lunged forward. We're sorry. We're begging you, Alyssa. Sorry's nothing, I spat, my voice a hiss. Why are you here? To save me or your fucking consciences? Mom whimpered. Both. I nodded, numb, the fight draining out of me like blood from a cut. Get out. They froze, eyes wide. Out! I screamed, shoving Dad. He hit the doorframe with a thud. Mom begged, what now? Drown in it, I hissed, my voice ablade. They fled, her cries echoing down the stairwell, fading into the hum of the city. They left, but the wreckage stayed, a hollowed-out shell where I used to be. Apologies couldn't stitch me back together. They were just noise, empty as their promises. I changed my locks, burned their old cards and letters in the sink. Acrid smoke curling up, stinging my eyes until I coughed. Months dragged by, a slow bleed of gray days and restless nights. I barely ate, coffee and crackers, my stomach a permanent knot, my ribs starting to show under my skin. Sleep was a war zone. Nightmares of their laughter jolted me awake, soaked in sweat, clawing at the sheets. That voice grew deafening, a relentless drum. You're nothing, never were. They're better off without you. I'd wake gasping, staring at the ceiling, tracing cracks like they held answers, wondering if it was true. I'd sit by my window, watching rain streak the glass, my reflection a ghost. Pale, hollow, a stranger I didn't recognize. But I fought. Got a new job, a bar gig downtown, the clatter of glasses and thump of music drowning my head. I'd sling drinks, fake smiles for tips, and let the noise bury the silence. 6 months later, a letter slid under my door. Mom's shaky scrawl. We're sorry. We're trying. Please come back. I tore it to confetti, letting the pieces scatter across the floor like ash. Jake called from a burner a week later. They're a mess. Mom's on pills. Dad's a drunk. You win, okay? You fucking win. I hung up, my hand trembling. Win? This wasn't a game. This was survival, clawing out of a grave they dug. I booked Italy a year later. Solo, no mercy, a dream I'd nursed in secret. I'd saved every bar tip, stashed cash in a new jar labeled me, no one else's name attached. I told no one, not Tara, not the bar crew, not a soul. The night before, my landlord caught me hauling my bag to the curb. Your folks came by. Looked like death warmed over. Said they're lost without you. I shrugged, zipping my jacket. Let them stay lost. In Rome, I landed at dawn, the air thick with history and heat. I climbed the Spanish steps that first evening, the city sprawling below in a tapestry of gold and red, the Tiber winding like a silver thread through the chaos. I sat there, legs dangling, watching tourists snap photos, lovers laugh, vendors hawk their wares, a world alive, indifferent to my scars. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a flood of messages I hadn't checked since the plane. Mom, your pics on Instagram. We're dying here, Alyssa. Dad, come back. We're broken, kiddo. Jake, they're done. Mom's OD'd once. Dad's gone off the deep end. You happy now? I stared at the screen, chest tight, their words a distant echo of a life I'd shed. I typed, slow and deliberate. You killed me first. Live with it. Sent. Blocked. The city hummed around me, a pulse of noise and light, and I tossed my phone into my bag. A final severing, its weight gone from my hands. I spent 2 weeks in Italy, wandering cobblestone streets, sipping espresso in cramped cafes, sketching ruins in a battered notebook I'd bought on impulse. Each day was a brick, rebuilding something they'd torn down. I'd stand on bridges, watching the river flow, and feel the past slough off. Mom's fake tears, Dad's empty promises, Jake's smug grin. One night, in a tiny trattoria, a waiter flirted, sliding me an extra glass of wine. "You look like you're running from something," he said, his English accented and warm. I smirked, sipping the red. "Running to something, maybe?" He laughed, and I felt a flicker, light, fleeting, a hint of who I could be. Back in my rented room, I'd lie awake, the hum of Rome seeping through the walls, and realize I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for them, not for anyone. They'd noticed too late, their pleas a faint ripple against the shore I'd already left behind. I mailed Tara a postcard, found myself, "Don't worry," and let the rest fade, a chapter burned to ash,